The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Rise! Get yourselves together! Rise! Stand up and live your life! Rise! Get yourselves together! Rise! Hands up high!
At 5, she called him her boyfriend and said he made her melt. Those are comments we've just learned Jennifer Fichter made about an 8th grader.
When you take a young developing brain and you overstimulate it.
Just the latest in a string of cases, beginning most famously with Mary Kay Letourneau and her young lover, her 6th grade student.
A jury convicted 31-year-old Ethel Anderson of 9 counts of molesting a 12-year-old boy.
According to an arrest affidavit, Hodges picked up a 14-year-old student at his home. This all happened sometime early in June. The two then allegedly went back to Hodges' apartment where they smoked marijuana and had sex.
All right, this is disgusting. Police near Boston say a teacher jumped in the sack with a boy and did it, literally, more than 300 times. And she's married.
Both involving a scenario that seems to be occurring more often in school. Female teachers sexually molesting, and that's what it is, young boys.
22-year-old Kaylee Warnick is charged with aggravated criminal sexual contact and endangering the welfare of a child.
Well, a band teacher could lose her job after she was arrested for allegedly having a sexual relationship with a 14-year-old male student. Now, this teacher is a wife and mother, and she's pregnant with her 2nd child, but she was led into court in handcuffs, and now she faces serious charges.
Bridget, do you have anything to say?
Former school security guard faced a Norfolk judge this morning. 23-year-old Patience Perez is accused of having sex with a student.
After investigating, police say they believe she did have a sexual relationship with the teen several months ago. She was arrested on charges of unlawful sexual intercourse with a minor.
Stephanie Draper accused of having sex with a 14-year-old on 4 occasions.
A middle school teacher charged with sexually assaulting a 14-year-old boy.
A woman is accused of having sex with a 15-year-old she met while working at an area church.
Now she's in even more trouble and under arrest again.
She went by and she picked up the vodka as well as some Sprite, and then she picked up the student. They went to the park where they began fooling around basically after hours. An officer noticed a car on the end of the park and decided to go check it out. And when the officer walked up to the car with her flashlight, that's when she noticed that both of the people in the car were nude and that the teacher was involved. The student basically lied about his age right off the bat.
With regard to count 1, sexual battery, you're sentenced to 12 months. With regard to count 2,
oh, I'm sorry. No, you're sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. I thought it was still 1 to 5, but you're correct. It's the months. Sorry. Go ahead.
With regard to count 2, sexual battery, you're sentenced to 12 months. With regard to count 3, sexual battery, you're sentenced to 12 months. With regard to count 4, offenses involving underage persons furnishing alcohol to underage persons, you're sentenced to 30 days. With regard to count 5, sexual battery, you're sentenced to 12 months. With regard to count 6, sexual battery, you're sentenced to 12 months. With regard to count 7, offenses involving underage persons, you're sentenced to 30 days. With regard to count 8, sexual battery, you're sentenced to 12 months. All of those 8 counts will run concurrent with each other at the same time. So that's an accumulation at this time of 12 months. With regard to count 9, this is when the individuals changed. We go from the first 2 individuals now, count 9, to the different individuals. With regard to count 9, 12 months. With regard to count 10, sexual battery, 12 months. With regard to count 11, sexual battery, 12 months. Counts 9, 10, and 11 will run concurrent with each other, but consecutive to counts 1 through 8. With regard to count 12, sexual battery, 12 months. With regard to count 13, sexual battery, 12 months.
Seems like we're hearing more and more about women really being female.
12 months. With regard to count 15, cases involving underage persons, 30 days.
It's not only men that get themselves into trouble, is it?
Sure. No, it's not. There are women. Yeah, there's a couple of cases that we're looking at. One I find quite fascinating is a woman who, her name's Shantae Gilman. So she has just been charged with second-degree rape. She allegedly broke into the home. She's 26, and she broke into the home of a 31-year-old who woke up in the middle of the night with this woman on top of him, allegedly having sexual intercourse. Now, obviously, statistically, this is more unusual than a man-on-woman rape, but it should be taken just as seriously.
Well, it should be taken just as seriously. Finally, I think the FBI statistics just started collecting male rape figures in the last year or so, but before they didn't do that nationally. Many people just didn't consider the act of rape against a man by a woman to be legitimate. At least this jurisdiction is keeping it that way. Now, just to explain, I mean, the fact is that this man woke up in the middle of the night and she had actually put his penis inside of her and she was on top of him. Now, she was a hefty woman and he couldn't move. He couldn't get her off him. And so he eventually was able to, and then, of course, told the police about it. The rape kit that they did proved that that in fact it was her that was on him.
Because it was a year ago it happened, but
Yes.
the DNA is only now just been able to track her down. That's
Yes.
why they've pressed charges.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, there's an argument though that well, if a man is aroused, then clearly he wanted to do it, but that's not the case. Consent doesn't matter if your physical body is reacting to some form of stimulus. It doesn't mean you want to do it.
Right, especially, I mean, when somebody's asleep, clearly you can't say that they consented to it, but when he woke up, he definitely tried to get her off of him. And then on top of that, it doesn't matter. If your body responds to the physical touch, it doesn't mean that you are consenting to it. And so it's just not a legitimate excuse to say that, well, he responded, so it's not really rape.
Of course not.
But I will tell you that there are cases that I know of that occurred on college campuses or in fraternities where young men, have been victimized sexually and they've gone for help on the college campus and been told men can't be raped, men can't be sexually assaulted, there's no services here. Men are excluded from groups, rape trauma groups, and some rape trauma treatment centers don't treat men. So it's kind of a problem when there's an issue, and maybe it's not a frequent issue, but when it happens, the men should be treated as well as the women are.
It needs to be taken seriously. Absolutely, 100% agree with that.
I mean, there's a group called the Good Men Project that's on Twitter at the Good Men Project, and they try to show examples that men are not always the bad guy. Men do good things as well, and they're not evil. Most men in this country and around this world could not physically accomplish a rape because they can't do that. They can't remain aroused when they're forcing somebody to have sex.
Sure.
But some men can, and some men do.
Yeah.
Well, some women, as in this case, also
and of course,
do.
and if someone's asleep and they're in a deep sleep, their body will react to certain things.
Yes.
Welcome to the Rise Above Show. I am Joe Perroni.
I'm Heidi Mancini.
I'm John Stiles, and you're not.
And you're not.
And it gets a little bit scary when the owner of the station wants to sit in with us. So I'm a little worried right now. Is this our last day on the air?
I've had a number of comments about some of your shows, so I thought I might just come on and help you out.
All right.
And we want to take a minute to thank
Because
Marie.
you're getting too good.
We're getting too good. Marie from mealprepvegas.com. Her number is 702-624-9286. She does food preparation. So if you're looking for somebody to help you with your diet needs and, busy lifestyles, she'll be more than happy to help you customize meal plans for you and your families. Also, we want to thank Jay Jung from City Athletic Club. He also is a sponsor and a partner for the Rise Above show. And I want to take a moment just to reiterate that Joe Perroni over here, he's a personal trainer at City Athletic Gym. He's also a marriage and family counselor. He also he writes all the material for the Rise Above show, so all the subject matter that we talk about, he writes his notes, and that's his job. And what else do you want me to say about you?
That's good.
Is that good? You look good in your shirt today.
Oh, well, thanks.
You're welcome. And
is that sexual harassment?
No,
because you mentioned
I said
the way I look.
So,
well,
I didn't say I wanted to like.
You know why it's not?
Why?
Because it's wanted. Now, if it was an unwanted sexual advance, then we'd have a problem.
Then we have a problem.
But how do you know it's unwanted until you first say it?
Would you say you?
How do you know?
Right.
How do you know if it's wanted or unwanted?
The only way to know.
You know how I know?
Men all the time.
Absolutely.
You know how I know? Because of the shirt he's wearing today. He's showing his arms.
And the touching. Illegal. Illegal.
I'm with you. I can touch you.
In this particular case, I don't think it is.
That's
no.
Actually not true.
Okay.
Oh, but here's the thing. I wouldn't go up to a guy in the gym or any place and go up to a guy and go, "You look really good today," unless I really, really knew the person and I thought it was okay, because it would be sketchy. I wouldn't want the guy to think that I was hitting on him.
But that's a sign of the times.
And that's basically it. It's like, how do you be nice to people? And I know that women have this problem more than men do. If you smile at someone or you say hello or you're friendly, you know, they think, "Whoa, wow, you know, she's hot for me." And, you know,
and it's like, no, I'm not. I'm just,
help it, right?
I really like your shirt. You know, like that's, you know, so I could say to you, "John, I like your shirt. It's really nice."
Right.
And I know that you wouldn't get all like, you know, either feel like you're being.
But that's because I know
That's
you.
because we know each other.
Right, and
but,
we work together, and
yeah,
you know.
But I'm apprehensive to. But I tell women all the time, if I think a woman looks good, I tell her, and I figure all women are always fishing for compliments anyway. But and then I just want to take a moment to plug myself for a minute.
Right.
I also work at City Athletic Club as a wellness coach, and I will have a suite at Body Spa West. I work there as a self-employed hairstylist. I do hair extensions.
That place is awesome.
I know. It's
what,
huge.
You got a couple thousand people there?
We have about 175 hairdressers, combination of nail people, massage people. We do everything over there.
That place is like a city.
It's the biggest. it is the biggest salon on the West Coast, including California. It's
and the way it's laid out is really nice, because they all, you know, there's some that work out there in the open, and some have their own private rooms, and you know, that's pretty cool.
It's really nice. We have everything over there available. So I work over there, and I co-host the Rise Above show, and I do all the social media stuff. So I'm the one that posts on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, and promotes our show. And I also interview potential people for our show, and I talk with Joe about, you know, material that we might want to talk about. So if you are interested in partnering with our show and us help you advertise your business, your service, a product, you have something you would like to come on the show and talk about, even as a guest, that means is something important, you know, contact me. You can reach me at 702-278-6412. My email is Camillio, CAMILLIO, the number 1 at iCloud.com. Or you can even message me on Facebook. I'm there. I have a private page there. We have the Rise Above show on Facebook. You can reach me at WWDB.TV, which is where we're broadcasting out of right now. We're also on YouTube. So we're kind of all over. I don't think people will have a problem getting in touch with us if they needed to.
I don't think so.
And we're always willing and always wanting to work with other businesses and people to help each other promote and make the community a good place.
Absolutely.
That's
My turn.
Your turn.
I just want to thank you for letting me join you today.
Oh, no, it's going to be great.
I know this is going to be a good show, and that's why, you know, we've talked about I wanted to come up here.
No, listen, I appreciate you putting us on the air, because, as you know from the very beginning, we're going to challenge the herd mentality, right? Yep. So we get a lot of people annoyed sometimes. But I think that it needs to be done, because I can't even understand why so many people are fighting back in a way. But maybe I should say it right up front, because they don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so what's in the news and what I wanted to bring out today, and I had a lot of this information before, by the way, because I do a lot of studying and reading, and I gather information, and I knew something like this would end up coming up again. So today is a good day to do it. This Harvey Weinstein, there's rape and sexual allegations that he's alleged to have done. I don't know if he did or if he didn't, but let's just say he did, okay? Let's say it right from the top. There is no debate. Rape is wrong. I don't know any human being in this world that's pro-rape, okay? There's not a person I would ever know that would ever say that. But the problem with it is, and why I want to discuss this show and to do all this information, is because it's turned into a man-hating contest, and it's turned into a Me Too contest of where all these women are coming out of the woodwork supposedly being courageous after they already basically did what they needed to do, and then 20 years later when the multimillionaires come out and say how courageous they are. Let me tell you who's courageous. Heidi was a little, let's say she was a little nervous about doing the show before, but she posted about how men also get sexually abused. And let me say a couple of just words of the amazing men who put Me Too and admitted that they were sexually abused. Some of them as young as 8 years old. And it's even hard, it's hard for me to talk about this because as a man, and John knows this, we're not allowed to have emotions in this society. We're not allowed to feel anything. So I would roughly say there's so many men out there that are dying inside, never being able to speak the truth. And it's just so amazing to me how many women, how we're told that they're empathetic and caring and all of these things, but yet when we post things like this, they're the first ones to deny it. They're the first ones to say, oh, but they must have been raped by a man. Well, okay, we're not playing men against women. If you admit that rape is wrong, why do you think it's okay for a man to be raped by another man? First of all, so why do you even bother to say that? I don't hear anybody saying I'm sorry to all these young boys who were raped. And if you watch the beginning of the show, I showed you multiple times where women are the perpetrators, and they rarely, if any, spend any time in jail. So if there's a rape culture out there, maybe there is. But it's the opposite way, because women tend to be able to get away with murder just about and get away with it. I don't take up too much time because I don't want to get you guys into it, but let me tell you one of the first ways I started writing this show about maybe 2 months ago, actually. So for my birthday, we went to the Las Vegas Erotica Museum. Now, it's not this seedy, terrible thing, right? There's a lot of actual...
Do you have film?
You're not allowed to. But there's a lot of good things, right? There's sexual history, and there's all these... It's actually pretty good. It's a good place just to go. But then there's this section, and there's this wall. And it was really meaningful because it was people actually making the art, because it was mostly, I would say 99% women, writing on the wall about their experience of what it was like to be raped and how it ruined their life, or how they mistrust everybody, you know, from men to their fathers to the family, and how it really ruined them. And I sat there for a long time, and I read through a lot of them. And it's heartbreaking. It really is. And you go, wow, you know, these people were so torn up. But if you walk to the other side of the museum, there's another wall, and it says hot women, hot women pedophiles. And I'm going, okay, like on one side, if you're a woman and you get sexually assaulted, everybody sits there by the wall and wants to cry for you. And on the other side, they have this modeling agency, basically, of all these hot women pedophiles. And they brag. They're like, oh, this girl, Mary, she was hot. And she was a teacher. And she took 15 boys in 1 year. And I'm like, wow, really? What is that? And where is a man to go when he's made fun of if he's assaulted? And why is it that it's okay in society that rape is the world's worst thing if it happens to a woman? If it happens to a boy, we don't want to know about it. We're not going to tell you. So I'll let you guys talk, but I definitely do have numbers to back this up on studies.
But I also think
I'm going to follow
as a culture, the reason that we don't know about men is because men don't talk about it, because it's kind of emasculating to a male to say he was raped or he was touched inappropriately. So men usually just, you know, suck it up and they're very quiet about it. Women, on the other hand, you know, they're verbal about everything, you know, so because they are so verbal about it and they're not afraid to tell a friend or tell their doctor or, you know, tell the police, whatever, it seems that there's more rapes for women than there are men, but it's almost equal. But it's what's reported. And I think that the confusion is that, you know, what's your definition of rape? And now, because there's so much sexual abuse and molestation in the houses, you know, in the homes and that's considered rape too. If you're taking advantage of a child or somebody and you're having sex with them, it's it is rape, even though it's consensual. They don't know. They won't fight back.
But it's not consensual.
No.
Because at that age, or at a certain
fearful.
age, you know, we have laws that define the age of consent. So an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old or a 12-year-old is not old enough to make those kind of decisions intelligently.
And well, and even a woman too. Like if she's being sexually raped, or I would say raped, or whatever it is, it just because she consents doesn't mean that she's consenting. Sometimes it's fear-based. You know, you're like, I better just go along with this, because if I don't. With men too, you know, there's been this saying, well, if they get an erection, they must have wanted it. Well, you know, sometimes that's a fear response. You know, a guy could have an erection from being scared. His blood pressure goes up, his heart rate goes up. He could get an erection from fear. Women have been known to have orgasms while they're being raped. The #1 fantasy for women is being taken sexually, which means roughed up and raped. You know, so
but it isn't that, and maybe I'm wrong, but isn't that someone that they're choosing? In other words, in their mind or their fantasy.
Yeah, it would be a fantasy.
Right, it's a fantasy, and just like, you know, you talk about, hey, when I was in junior high school and high school, I had some pretty hot teachers.
Right, of course.
I would not have been adverse to any one of them jumping my bones. But I'm serious.
Right,
but
no.
that is a conditioning
True.
that we have received since we could talk.
Right.
And both men and women. You know, how many movies in your lifetime have you seen about cougars?
Oh yeah, I mean,
You
we know about them.
Yeah,
of course.
and that's supposed to be. I mean, that we've been conditioned to believe that's a cool fantasy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or Mrs. Jones. Oh,
Yeah,
Mrs. Robinson.
exactly, Mrs. Robinson,
Oh, you just made me think of that. I just thought about
But listen, and you're totally right. It's funny you say it. I haven't thought about this movie in a long time, but Summer of '42.
Oh yeah.
That was like an iconic movie, right? A lot of people forgot about this movie.
1942.
Is that what it was?
No,
right.
no.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. No, you're right.
There are some.
That's
out
true.
there,
That don't know that. Okay.
Some of the younger people in the audience.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
It was World War II, right? Like,
right.
So the
It was right
girl.
at the beginning of 1942.
Right. And so the man and woman, they're on the beach. The man has to go to war, and there's this child who's always on the beach. Like his parents have a summer house there.
Right.
And as it goes on, he's like, wow, she looks hot. Maybe I'll help her move some boxes.
When you're saying child, he was an adolescent. I mean,
Was
it
he
wasn't
14, I believe, in
Yeah,
there?
but I'm saying it wasn't like he was an 8-year-old.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no, fair enough, fair enough.
He was 13, 14 years old.
Right,
in
because
that
you remember
area.
he walks into the pharmacy and he's like trying to buy a condom for the first time because he's like, well, maybe I can actually score with this girl, right? But the odd thing is, well, it's not odd, but what happens is that the military guy never comes back. He dies. She gets the letter, and now she's alone. He comes over, and she's like, come to bed with me. Okay, like, then it's really interesting. It's like one of these weird movies. I watched it when I was very young. There's like a 10-minute section of this movie where there's no sound, right? It's them making love. If it's possible for a woman of age to be making love, it's a pedophilia scene in an old movie. But it's like we're watching it going, he's easing her pain. He's making her feel like she has power. And it's like, hold it. If we switched it to where there was like a 25-year-old man with an adolescent girl, everybody would be like, you know what? This movie's not iconic. It would be like, this is a Roman Polanski thing. Let's just exile this director and arrest him or something.
Okay, well, let's take a breath here.
Yeah.
All right? Now, let's imagine that same scenario 200 years ago or 300 years ago.
Right.
How old were Romeo and Juliet? They were 13,
I was going to say they were
year-olds.
in the 13,
They were
14
just
years
kids.
old. Yeah.
But at that time, you lived until 30, 35. So they were middle-aged.
Right.
So we are looking at this whole situation from a completely different perspective than they did 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago. So we have been conditioned by our generation that this is what's right and this is what's wrong and this is what we should believe. Now, because the society that we live in has changed and progressed, supposedly. And a 10-year-old today is completely different than a 10-year-old 100 years ago. 100 years ago, they were living on the farm, worked from dawn till dusk. If they got to school at all, they were lucky. So, we have to. We have done this to ourselves, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
And we have made this acceptable and this not acceptable, and we get hung up on specifics of a situation rather than looking at the overall picture.
Okay. So let's say...
And I mean, leaving aside whether it's a male or a female, an older person, a younger person, or whatever, it is something that... Rape is not sexual. Rape is all about power and control. And a man raping a woman has nothing to do with sex. It's a way to overpower that individual.
Okay, here's a good debate for
in my opinion,
for two men.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, the feminist thought, and a lot of other men's thoughts too, is that okay, it's about power, and I don't disagree with that. Right? Freud would say you've got eros, which is the love, the whole life thing, right. And then you would have thanatos, which is death and violence and pain. He would also say that we have both at the same time. And there's what I agree with, is that I don't, this is a tough subject, so if I say anything that offends people, just, okay, I don't know another way to say it. Okay?
No matter what you're going to say, it's going to offend somebody.
It will. So. Listen, there's always power. There's always a power thing. At least I can't talk as a woman. As a man, there's always power. There's something about getting something that you want and being fully erect and powerful and driving something, you know what I mean? That's it.
If you're famous, you can do anything you want. You can walk up to a woman and grab her by the pussy.
Donald Trump. Okay.
What I'm saying is Harvey Weinstein. This is all about power.
No, it is, and that's the first part. I agree with that. Like we all feel it as we're guys. Like, yeah, okay, because you're ready for battle, right? Like your body changes, and it's like, yeah, I can perform. And then you're getting something that most of society says you can't get unless you're a decent enough guy. You got to have the good looks. You got to be able to have the game of being able to talk. You got to have the right amount of money. You got to make this happen, right? So, and you are powerful. But then here's where I would also say the other part. Is that we're forgetting the part that if you're going to do it, I think making money is powerful, I think working out is powerful, but I don't have an erection when I do those things, okay? So let's talk the other part of the truth that nobody wants to talk about. If we're performing an act and there's an erection involved, there's sex involved, right? I mean, you can't get around that. So is there power? Absolutely. Is there sex? Yes. So the women that don't want to say it's a sexual crime, you're dealing with a man's sexual anatomy. Yes, there's excitement there. So there is a sexual part there. It would be hard to deny that.
I'm going to disagree with you here a little bit because...
You can have...
Thank you. Otherwise, I'll throw your ass off the air.
I know you can do that, too.
No, I would not, you know I wouldn't do that. Okay, so the only way I can get a hard on is if I slap a woman.
Some people are like that.
It has nothing to do with sex, okay?
Right.
It has nothing to do with sex. That's the only way I can get an erection. If I slap a woman, punch a kid in the eye, drive my car off a cliff, or whatever, that is what I need. I'm just making stuff up. But I just want to clarify that. But it's because we're animals.
Yes.
However, the difference that we have over most animals is we can make choices to override our conditioning.
Right.
Okay? So I may have a specific urge. I may see a 13-year-old girl and go, holy crap!
Right.
But I'm enough of an adult or have enough intelligence to think, wait a minute, that's inappropriate.
Right.
So, this is what we're lacking today. This is what fucking people are lacking, is that ability to make those choices.
No, I agree.
And it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Because of empathy, people are losing their empathy.
It's the new norm.
It's the new.
We have a president that does this shit. We have the guy who is the head of a studio that does this shit.
Yeah,
we have famous people that are doing this shit.
It's totally disgusting. But there's just go back over the point, because I do agree with you. I just don't think in absolutes. I think if you have an erection, there is most likely, not always, because there are some people with a pathology, right? Like they need to get beaten, they need to get somebody to go to the bathroom on, or whatever it might be. But for the most part, if you're sexually excited, there's sex involved, like for a lot of people, right? And then when you put them together,
if you're sexually excited,
right?
I don't see the point that you're trying to make. Just because someone has an erection and does something with it,
right?
Okay, makes it sexual. It's a matter of semantics.
Right,
but the end game is not having sex. The end game is having power.
No, I agree.
And the sex
I agree.
is a means to gain that power.
I agree, but here's where the difference is. Let's say a person is of a certain type and they can't get it up, and it's power. They see something they like and they want to overcome it. They would. And this, unfortunately, this garbage happens too.
Sure.
They would use their fists and pummel somebody into the ground until they beat them. They would take a stick and hit them over the head. So if it was pure violence, you would see Stephen Paddock having sex with people. He would, instead of shooting them from half a mile away. Like, so, yeah, I agree. And that's why I like to talk about this, because feminists tend to just go, it's only one way. Sorry, but it's not. If you look at the percentage of the ages of women who get raped, it's between about 14 to 35. Younger, if it was only power, you probably would go after somebody else that you can overpower pretty easily. You wouldn't go after the prettiest ones at 20 years old.
I'll tell you why I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
It's because if that individual, and let's just say I'm a rapist and I have picked my target.
Right.
She happens to be a 30-year-old woman who has long blonde hair that I couldn't have in a million years.
Right.
The only way that I can have her. Now, if I pick somebody that's 55, I got a hell of a lot better chance of hooking up with this person.
Well, if she was, so in other words, then it's still sex, because then you would force yourself on the one that's prettier.
It's still power.
Right.
Because I can't have her unless I rape her. But I could have her, no problem at all. So I don't have any power over here.
Okay, no, I see what you're saying.
I have to have over here to get that power.
All right.
Or
no,
to feel
listen,
like I
agree.
have that
It's
power.
just a matter of percentage. I agree. It's both. I would have to say it's
but
both.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think it's
statistics.
it's because people are different. I would say it's
Right.
both. The other part that I want to get to is it's just people don't seem to understand too that it's a problem where women are the perpetrators. Let me just go down this real quick, and then I want Heidi to talk, because it's very interesting this week about how you can upset a woman by saying that men have problems too. Because, and we talked about this before, because I didn't want to make Heidi feel bad, really, on the air, but I think it's very important, because if it happened in our household, I would imagine it happened in a lot of households. She actually said I was pro-rape, and I was for being, for the rapist, and that I could be one too. And for the reason is that I wanted to talk about some of the boys and some of the men who were hurt. And I don't blame Heidi for this. I blame society for telling women that they don't have to have no personal responsibility whatsoever. They never have to look outside their own problems, and they want to be professional victims. And I think in this situation, when we're talking about rape, there should be no debate. Rape is bad. But here's the crazy thing. And if you watch the show, I hope you do, and you'll know that I'm a liberal. This should be an argument that liberals can easily win, but they're losing it because women are jumping on and saying all men are bad, and then they're doing all these other things. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, we're actually losing the argument about rape because we're jumping over and we're not having an honest conversation. Like,
It's
you're affected.
because-
Calling me a rapist is what a lot of people do when they don't know what to say and they get tweaked.
Wait. Define.
I can't remember why I said that either.
Rapist.
Rape would be sexual activity carried out forcibly.
Not rape. Rapist. Define. If somebody says you're a rapist, what does that mean? That means that you rape people.
Right, but I agreed. But I think what they mean.
Have you ever raped anyone?
No.
Then you're
but
not a rapist.
That's true. But in terms of feminine culture, and you're a liberal too, so you have to admit this.
You could be sympathetic to rapist.
True.
Right?
I don't know who would, but you're right.
No. But I'm saying
right,
rather than you're a rapist. No, unless you've raped someone, you are not a rapist.
See, here's
you
where,
might be a potential, you might be a sympathetic or whatever.
Right, but here's where I think the line is.
Okay.
When they hear it so much from feminists and the Gloria Steinem types that say every man is a rapist in waiting, it doesn't take an extra couple of words or leaving out a word to say men are rapists or you're sympathizing with a rapist. Nobody's saying that. If you say that all rape is bad, that doesn't immediately, that says what we say. Let me go over this real quick, and I do want you to talk because, you know, I was actually hurt by that.
I can't remember why I said that, though. We were having a discussion about this
because you didn't want me to mention that men are hurt too. And that was a thing that I think is a trigger response because women tend to be that way because I guess it's okay in society. But
Okay, no, I know what it was that tweaked me. Now I have to remember this.
Let me finish this part too because I wanted to make sure we have the numbers out there.
I was like, why did I say that? I was mad too.
In the original definition of rape, even what do you call it, Merriam's, whatever it is,
Merriam Dictionary.
Merriam-Webster.
It says usually a female. Now, it's funny how they say that. That's an opinion. That's not a definition, okay? The reason why the rape stats are so off is because they really weren't even doing rape stats on men up until like the year 2010, if you can believe it.
Well, that's because nobody would admit it.
And that's true, too. Absolutely right. But here's some crazy stuff. The year 2011, I got a study out of the Center for Disease Control. 4.5 million men were victims. Out of that, 79.2%, the perpetrators were female. Think about that. The year 2012, U.S. Census Bureau, 43.6% of the people who admitted to perpetrating were women. How many women do you think would really admit to being a perpetrator? So that number is probably higher, but 43 is high.
But also, I think that one of the things that those statistics are missing is the age of the perpetrator and the age of the victim.
Right, you know what, they probably have it.
How many 30-year-old women do you think are going to be capable of raping a 40 or 45-year-old man?
Physically, we're talking about to be able to hold somebody down.
I'm talking in any kind of situation. I want you to try to picture that, because number one, 9 times out of 10, the guy's going to say, "Cool." You know,
that happens.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, in most cases, I believe these statistics show that older women and younger men, or boys, or 12-year-old, or 14-year-old, or 13-year-old. Now, even if a young kid is 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, and they're having sex with a 20 or 30-year-old woman, the woman's going to get charged with rape or statutory rape or some kind of crime, and the kid's probably in heaven, except for a few minor cases where they are going to be. But so I think maybe the statistics might be. I mean, look at all the teachers that have been busted having sex with kids and stuff like that.
But here's the crazy thing, going with what you're saying, and I definitely want to. Maybe we can extend the show. Okay, but here's something that's important. When we're looking at this, if you want to look at a true pedophile, now understand, I was helping to run a sex offender program in Las Vegas for about a year. You learn a lot from other people because I can't think like that, okay? I have to look at them to know what they're thinking. Yeah. I don't know where their brains are at. But if you want to look at a true pedophile, look at a woman who's going after 12-year-olds. And I'll tell you why. If you're a woman and you're a teacher and you have a job and you look pretty good and you're in your 30s, you can pretty much get sex wherever you want. So you are seeking out that power over a 12, 13, 14. I'm not saying it's okay for like an old guy, lecherous guy who can't get a woman. I'm not saying it's okay for him to rape either. But he would pay for a prostitute. You know, I mean, he may have trouble getting sex or whatever the case may be. But this is a true pedophile here. When we're looking at women who are actively engaging one after the other of young children on purpose. And some of them are married, by the way, if you've seen the video. So that would be like under the definition of a true pedophile. The other thing I want to get to real quick, and then I really want to get your side, but I need to say this. People have a problem with the thought of a boy or a man getting raped, again, because they could be sexually excited. Okay, let's take the part that people don't want to talk about. If you've ever done therapy on a woman who has been through a lot of trauma through sexual assault or rape, when you get underneath all of that, at the core of the shame, part of the shame, when they say it's my fault, that's society. But the other part, and it's even hard for me to say this because it's really, it's tough. On a regular basis, if you take your average woman, if you're just talking about with their partner, vaginal sex, about 25% of women could have a reliable orgasm through vaginal sex. Okay, 25%. During a rape, about 15% of women have orgasms. As a man, you know how hard that is to deal with? That you're trying to be the best lover in the world you can, and you hope that you're loved, and you get all that, you know, that emotion and the love and the caring and this whole bit about how you need to be together. But yet, if some guy goes in and just rapes your wife, she almost has as much of a chance of having an orgasm with you as she does with this rapist. That really changes things that we don't want to talk about as men, for sure. But women definitely feel guilty about that. So if you want to blame a man for being sexually excited when he's saying no but his body says yes, let's have that really tough conversation about how many women, and I air quotes, enjoy being raped. Because if we're going to use the word orgasm, we have to say enjoy, right?
So let me ask you this question. All right?
Yeah.
Let's say a woman is raped.
Yes.
She enjoys it.
Oh, let's use it. I don't mean that. I mean, she had an
I'm
orgasm.
asking you, this is a hypothetical question, okay? She does enjoy it. Does that make it any less of a crime?
No, absolutely not. It's absolutely a crime, and that would be
still a crime.
Absolutely, and that's why I would.
Because
the only thing
whether or not she enjoyed it, it was not consensual.
Absolutely. Here's something really quick as men, okay? There's certain things that would make you be able to consent or not consent, right? Or the woman you're with. Now, here's one of the things. If you're married, since 1979, believe, you still have to get consent from your wife every time you have sex. You could be married for 20 years. If she doesn't want to have sex with you on a Sunday morning, she says no and you say yes, it's coercion. She can put you up for charges for that legally. So you have to be sober. You have to be of age. You have to be conscious, all these things. Now, as men, we can talk about this. We're the only one. Nobody's watching, right? Have you ever been with a woman who doesn't want to play around with you while you're sleeping to see if your body reacts while you're sleeping? Because if you have, that's sexual assault, right? Because you can't say yes when you're sleeping.
Right.
And as you know, we get multiple erections throughout the night, whether we know it or not, because we're totally asleep. And if somebody wants to play with us while we're asleep, listen, I'm not saying no because I'm in bed with her for a reason, but technically speaking...
That's the key.
Right.
That's the key, is that you are there of your own free will. Now,
right.
If you wake up and say, knock that shit off.
Exactly, I got to get up in the morning.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
but if you wake up and go, cool.
Right, then things are good.
Right.
But it's like the same thing.
It just goes
still
back
comes
to
down to
unwanted.
Right. So if somebody's doing something like you're sleeping, you wake up and some girl's playing ring toss with your stuff, you know, whatever she's doing. Listen, that's off limits. You're technically not allowed to do that because we go back to the original thing. Is it an unwanted sexual advance? Well, you don't know unless you try. And I'm going to say this Harvey Weinstein guy, he's ugly as all hell, right? But if it was Brad Pitt saying, listen, I'm going to put you in a movie you probably get paid $10 million. The only thing you got to do is sleep with me. Would we even be having this conversation?
No, they'd be doing the movie for free.
They would be doing the movie, yeah, and they would be doing him, and everybody would be good, right? Listen, I'm sorry about that. I need to get that out. Oh, so many years of, like, you know, we're actually oppressed here.
Wait. And
in that
this
sense,
this is what gets me.
Yeah.
Okay. And we all do it. We all do it. We all do it. There's no difference between men and women. I mean, there are some physical differences, but we keep separating women, men. Dude, we're all human beings. We all have the same feelings.
When you do that,
we all have the same.
When you put people in a category, what it does is again, nobody has accountability. Because if we compartmentalize people and we put people over here, men are this way, women are this way, then there's no real accountability. But if all of a sudden,
that's my point. Right.
All of a sudden you say we're equal, and this is where our world is going right now, that, you know, there's no gender specific anymore. And I was telling Joe this the other day, we were talking, I said the problem is that we're still living back 500 years ago, that we're still thinking, you know, you think about our Constitution and how it was written all those years ago. You know, they were living on the plains, they had muskets, they were very simple, and we still live a lot by those laws and rules that were written like a million years ago. Counseling is still, they're still counseling, still using the same strategies they did 100 years ago. You know, people are supposedly evolving, people are changing, technology is taking over. We have, again, you know, this,
that's what's scaring the shit out of so many people.
But here's the thing, if you get a child, I just had this conversation with somebody today, if you have a child that's on the internet looking at porn, they're learning about women's bodies, who knows what they're watching, it doesn't matter. Children at 10 years old are already becoming desensitized to sex. Their bodies are maturing a lot faster. They're aware of things. I don't know if I necessarily agree.
But the same parent that kicks their ass for watching porn on the computer will go out and buy them the Call of Duty.
Right.
The video game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they can go around killing people.
Right.
That's cool. You can do that.
There's the sex and violence thing again.
That's exactly right. Right. It's okay to be violent, but don't see anybody naked. Or
but it looks like it's what's okay for you. It's like, and as a society, I've said, you know, when you hear women, they'll say, well, that's sexual harassment or that's sexual assault. People need to get smart and start reading the dictionary, because, you know, they put an article up about President Bush and how he pinched some girl's rear end and said something derogatory, and it was assault. Excuse me, stupid media reporter, but assault is actually hitting you, touching you, pinching you, you know, pulling your hair. That's assault. Going up to a girl and pinching her on the rear end or saying, hey, you know, blah, 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 that's harassment. There's a difference.
That's exactly right. And
okay.
You're absolutely
and they
right.
make it sound
and I'm
like,
glad that you brought that point up.
And this is where people need to get educated. Rape is not, there's no
rape is not harassment. Rape is assault.
Rape is like is a crime. Rape is a crime no matter whether it's committed against an adult, a girl,
unless you're a Catholic priest.
Unless you're
then you're forgiven and you get sent to another parish.
But I'm just saying it doesn't, because I put some on Facebook and I was interested in the commentary I got, and, you know, people were like, well, you know, was it guy on guy rape? Well, you know what, it doesn't matter. You know,
that's exactly my point.
If you're gay, I've heard of transvestites being raped and beaten the crap beaten out of them because a heterosexual guy found out that they were really a guy. You know, that's a crime. You know, raping a male is a crime, whether you're male, whether you're a female to male. And I think, you know, as a society, because most men have not spoken up about being raped because they're embarrassed. I mean, how do you say to people, oh, this girl raped me? And everybody, the old saying is you can't rape the willing, you know, because of the erection factor. So my thing is the whole definition. Sexual harassment is sexual harassment. Sexual assault is going a little bit beyond a sexual, saying something verbally to somebody, I think you're hot. Now you said I'm hot. Now you got me up against the wall and you've assaulted me. So, and I was telling Joe this when I was a young girl, I was sexually assaulted in the workplace. Right. Thankfully I had a boss at the time that basically, you know, took care of it, told his buddies, you know what, you don't touch my girl like that. I was shampooing, I was assistant. Right. And his so-called buddies that were in their 40s and 50s didn't think it was a problem to grope me at the sink and ask me to do things while, you know. And So to me, it went from the verbal, you know, oh, I think you're cute, blah, 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 to grabbing me around the sink, that we went from the verbal to the assault. To me, that's an assault. I didn't give you permission to touch my rear end. I didn't give you permission to touch my thigh, you know, things like that. However, I didn't get raped or anything, thank God. But the point is there is a big difference between harassment, assault. Women, you know, there's like an oxymoron with the dress code with women. You know, you can be very sexual and you can be very pretty and you can be very attractive. And I, as a female, I think that women like to play both sides of the argument there with the way that being provocative and different things. And I said to a girl the other day, listen, there's nothing wrong with you wearing a mini skirt and the high-heeled boots and your breasts are out and, you know, whatever we do as women. When I dress up and go out with him, I put my dresses on. But here's the other part of it. When I dress that way, I dress for him, but I also know that I'm getting attention when I'm out.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
So if some guy comes by and says nice legs or nice tits or whatever they say, I actually kind of go, well, yeah, they are nice, aren't they? You know, like I kind of don't get.
I kind of like them.
Okay, because honestly, if I'm dressing a certain way, I'm dressing, but I don't like it when the women say that they're being sexually harassed or they're this and that, because you're doing it on purpose. We know this as women. When we dress a certain way, we have done it with intent.
Sure.
Now, I don't do it with the intent of getting, you know, jumped on and raped and my hair pulled out and get crap beat out of me. I mean,
but answer me this: when you do that, when you and I'm just asking you specifically, not all women, when you do that, aren't you doing that partially to show off to other women?
Yes, but I'm going to tell you another thing it does.
I mean,
as
because
a female,
I've always thought that women dress for other women, not for men.
Women dress for other women, but I'll tell you this, and women can admit this too, and it goes as far as lingerie. When you dress in a certain way as a female, like when I'm dressed like this, I feel comfortable.
Right.
Okay, when I put my high heels on and my tight dress or my lingerie, whatever it is, I feel sexy.
Yeah.
Like I'm ready.
Yeah,
like,
I get that.
Okay?
Yeah.
So when women can stand there and deny that and say, well, they have no right. Okay. All right, maybe they don't have a right.
Okay, so let's take that one step further.
But as a female, we know what we're doing. We're setting the scene.
Exactly.
Okay?
Of course you do. You have to. You can't. No one can convince me that you don't.
Right. So my problem is
listen. I had a guest on the show from last week on my show. She was hot. She was hot, and she's a tattoo model. I mean, she's a model. So it's her, the photographer, two of the photographers, and myself, and one of them had been a friend of mine for a while. But she knew exactly why she was dressing the way she did, and I'm sitting there trying to carry on a conversation with her and not stare at her boobs that were sticking out to here, you know, very low cut, and it was, I knew that she dressed that way intentionally. Number one, she was going to be on camera, and she was going out to a photo shoot and all that stuff. So, but we have been trained, you know, to drool at things like that. And when I say we, I'm talking about men and women. Right. And so let's say this. What's the solution to that? Everybody take all your clothes off. I'm serious. If everyone walked around naked, we wouldn't have half of the problems that we have now. And on that note, I think that you guys should take a commercial break so that you can pay your bills every month. And
yeah, because then we can't pay you.
That's right. So that's an important factor.
That's true.
So why don't we take a commercial break?
Put her hand in mine and said she loved me so. very long ago.
Hey, how's it going? You can just throw your name up on the list and we'll get right to you. Yeah, thanks, dude. Thanks for coming in. Let me just clean this spot up and then we'll get right to you. You can hop on up if you're ready. Welcome to the shop. You need a shave too, though, right?
I don't know if I would accept a shave from somebody who's unshaven.
I look like a child when I have a clean-shaven face.
No, I wouldn't want a child cutting my hair. And I'd also need to know that the blades have been sanitized thoroughly.
I can guarantee you that the barbicide is 100% authentic, and these are sanitized tools I'm using.
Well, what is the...
Have you ever gotten a straight razor shave?
Is there any other kind? Stuff smells like Irish Spring.
Brings me back to childhood.
Did you grow up in a chemical plant? Hurry up.
Yeah, well, you know. Now you look like $1 million.
Well, that's your job. I'll be sure and mention your facility during my show tonight.
Hey, welcome back. And I just want to say one thing while I have a second to talk, because Joe's going to start talking and then...
Yeah, then I don't let anybody get a
I
chance.
just have a little advice for everybody, and that is, do not get your goddamn news from Facebook. Thank you.
It's fake.
All right, so I have something that I think is pretty cool.
Okay.
It's not necessarily about exactly what we're talking about, but it's
Doesn't
just
have to be. It's your show.
Right. It's a systemic problem. Now, as Heidi told you in the beginning, I'm a marriage and family therapist. So this is right from the marriage and family therapy exam. You need to pass this in order to get a license.
Okay.
So in other words, you have to get the correct answers. Okay. Now here's a question. It says feminist family therapy. Feminist, mind you. Family therapy views neutrality on the part of the therapist as. In other words, you're seeing a man and a woman, and you treat them equally. So the question is, what do we see that as? And I said, my answer was, it's a non-biased way to join the family to help them. Makes sense, right? Treat everybody equal. You listen to her side, you listen to his side. Makes sense. Non-biased. That's what you need to do. Incorrect answer. The answer is that if I did that, I would be sexually stereotyping. Now, here's the explanation. When relationships are unequal to begin with, and we have to assume that in a man and woman relationship they are, if you maintain a stance of neutrality, it's maintaining a position of inequality and hurting the woman.
There's so much wrong with that statement. I couldn't even begin. No. I don't think...
I might get in trouble. So if anybody from the MFT or the Nevada State Board is watching me right now, you didn't see this. But that right there, as a man, I need to get that question right. And it says that I need to treat men like garbage, and I need to treat women better than a man. And
but wait.
As a feminist,
you said that this was as a feminist,
and that's the key question there.
That's what I was
problem solved right here.
Right.
Because they're saying if you're thinking like a feminist, and a feminist woman would take the side of a female, that's why you got it wrong.
And that's where the opening is.
That's exactly right.
But
It's exactly right.
No, it's true. It's true. But that's what I'm trying to say, though, is that, and I'm a liberal, and I hate to say, and you're a liberal too. That is such a massive part of the Democratic or liberal side, that feminism side, that people and guys try to be the white knights, right? Start agreeing with that, they're like, I can get girls. You know, and so they start agreeing, and that's the garbage. Where when I get clients, I'm starting to get a lot of men clients now wanting to have groups, and here's the kicker of it. Let me be open and honest. I don't want to make this a political show, but I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump, obviously. But I can see why a lot of men lean in that direction, because they're so sick and tired of being called rapists. They're sick and tired of being called every other, sexist and everything else, when, hey, some of them might be. But there's no way that all of them are. Okay, and I don't want to be put in this position.
Okay, but then if somebody calls me a sexist or a racist or a bigot.
Right.
Doesn't bother me at all because I know it's bullshit.
Right.
So you can call me whatever you want.
Right.
Because the people that know me know
True.
that that's not true.
Exactly.
And I'm gonna let's get into this feminism shit because
Right.
you and I obviously hang with different people.
True.
Okay. At one time, I was one of 3 chapter presidents of a NOW chapter. Do you know what NOW is? National Organization of Women.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is an elected position. I was a member of one of the chapters in Southern California, and I was elected as a chapter president to represent. So I think of myself as a feminist.
Okay.
In a lot of ways, because I believe in the equality between men and women.
Absolutely.
I don't hate women. I love women. I don't hate men. I don't love men, but but what I'm saying is that we take a small percentage, and this is why I made the comment about getting your news on Facebook.
Right.
Okay. The MSNBC recently, one of the guys on there just got fired for supposedly sexually harassing or abusing some women when he was at ABC. Okay, so the first thing out of the chute, everybody's going to say, okay, he's a liberal. All liberals are rapists, right? Harvey Weinstein. All right, everybody in Hollywood is a rapist and a pedophile and all of this shit. This guy that just shot all these people, you know, it is a right winger. So all right wingers are, you know,
crazy
killers, and
Right.
and that's what we keep doing to each other. We pick out a couple of wingnuts from
Right.
any particular group, and we use them as examples for the whole group. All right?
True.
All
Yeah, that
black
happens.
people are lazy. All Mexicans are lazy. You know, all Muslims are out to kill us.
Right.
And white middle class Protestant males are the biggest threat to this country. They have killed more people in this country, and I just read something this
Yeah,
morning.
that's true.
Since the shooting here in Vegas, 275 people have been killed in this country from gunshots.
Yeah, and you know how I know that? Because on our show, as you know, I said that there's at least one mass murder every single day, which kills 4 people. So I had that already picked out.
Can I say something? When you were talking about the feminist thing,
You don't have to raise your hand.
had
This is
said-
your show. It's your
No,
show.
but I want to bring this
Just
up
tell me
because
shut up.
I said to Joe earlier today, what gets me about all of it is that I, for one, I'm not a feminist as far as I believe everybody should be equal. So I guess I am a
Then
feminist.
you are a
okay?
feminist.
Can I just throw in one word?
No.
If you believe in neutrality and everybody's equal, you're not a feminist. You're a humanist.
Yes. Now
Okay.
That's where I would draw the line.
Okay, I'm a humanist
Right.
then. What gets me is when like men will say all women are sexual objects. All women are stupid. All women deserve to be home. I mean, there's men that think like that still. I can't believe it in today's
But
world.
wait. I am just as guilty of that.
Okay.
In so many situations of I cannot help being attracted to women. I mean, that's
normal.
It's not, you know, whether it's conditioning or whatever. But when I see a hot woman, I get aroused.
But me
I get
personally,
excited.
but here's the thing: when people, I don't want to go back to the dark ages when women couldn't work and
Fuck
women
no.
could. I wasn't, you know, I don't know. I can't even believe that women back then like that. You know, the men back then probably did, and that would sound like a stereotypical comment. But for me personally, being where I am at this point in my life, I like being a female. I like being smart. I like being able to make my own money, my own decisions. I like being around men. You know, all those things, but I don't want to be treated like a slut. I don't want to be treated like an object.
Right.
I don't want to be treated in a stupid way because I look a certain way. Well, you're pretty. You have blonde hair, and you're this and you're that. So you don't have any brain cells in there. I have a lot of things.
What was one of the first comments I made about Joe when I actually got to know him?
You thought he was stupid.
I absolutely did. You know, here's another dumbass bodybuilder, you know, muscle-bound oaf who hasn't got a fucking clue, you know, who's got a radio show, and he's probably up there, well, I ain't real smart, but I can lift heavy things. And the first time I listened to your show, I was like, holy shit. God damn, was I wrong about that guy? You know, and that's when I got to know you and got to realize, you know, this guy's got a brain. We do the same thing to women. Holy shit, look at those tits.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I think
I'm more of a
things
leg man,
should be equal. I think things should be equal to everybody.
We just don't give each other enough chance to get to know each other, and that's why we're doing all this bullshit. I mean, it's we don't allow us to really know other
Here's
people.
the other thing that some men aren't going to want to hear either. When you're in a corporate position and you're a male, they don't need to keep trying to sleep with their secretaries and the staff that they help. I had this discussion with him earlier. When corporate men hire their women, they hire women that they're attracted to, that they know potentially they're going to screw. Okay? Yeah. So there is a part of that the men have to change their mindset, that women are not objects of pleasure to get ahead in the business world. That sounds like a feminist thing I just said. But honestly, I don't want to be in a workforce where me getting up the corporate ladder depends on whether I sleep with this Weinstein guy, and a lot of women did, to get ahead. And
because that was the only way that they could. Right. Now let's just assume that you want to do hair more than anything else in the world. That's your goal. That's what you love doing. It really, it's something that you've always wanted to do. The only way to do that is to sleep with the boss.
I wouldn't do it.
But I'm saying most women will.
But this is what I'm saying.
I'm sorry, that's not true. A lot of women will.
But a lot of them do it because of fear and because of immaturity and because they're not sure if it's like comes back to that whole low self-esteem, no self-esteem
would you
thing.
have done it 30 years ago?
No.
Okay.
No, because honestly.
Oh yeah, because you were only 10 then.
No, I was pretty young then, but no, but honestly,
Now, was that sexual harassment?
What?
The comment I just made.
No.
Okay.
Because we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
But yes, back then,
I'm saying that you were only 10 at the time.
No, I didn't take it. But I'm just saying that. The women come out now after all these years and say how courageous they are because they're coming out now. The courageous thing to do would have been back then not do it, so that there could have set a precedence that these guys that run these corporations and these men in charge, they go, wait, we can't do this anymore. These women, because these women aren't falling for this garbage, so they're getting away with it because women enable it, and they go. But then women will take the other side of it and say, "But I did it, but I didn't like it."
Okay,
you can't play both sides of the.
So let's go back to the 1960s, and there was a lot going on in this country. There was a lot of protests. There was a lot of marches. There was a lot of dissent in the country, and most of it was the young people. And I think that's one of the things we're lacking today. Young people don't have...
They don't have no something.
Not as many of the young people today have what we had back then. And so one of the things that you heard a lot was the only way to change the system is from the inside. So... And there's a certain amount of truth to that, because if I mean, you look at what's going on in Congress today, in the House and the Senate, in the all three of the branches of government, no one is listening to the American people. Nothing that they do. If you look at all of the information that's out there, this is what the American people wants. This is what they want to see. This is what, you know, none of that is getting done. You know, we're about to get a tax break that you're not going to benefit from. I'm not going to benefit from. Large corporations are $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, $8 trillion in offshore accounts so that they don't have to pay taxes on it. Now, if you tried to get away with that, you wouldn't have a chance.
No. Can I ask you a question?
So you have to be on the inside.
Do you think it's right? I mean, and this is just your opinion. This isn't anything that's whatever. Do you think it's right, though, for a man to coerce a woman into having sex to get ahead in the job force? Because
no.
He wouldn't do that for another man. I don't see him going up unless he was gay.
Right.
But whichever way you look at it, it's not okay.
But it goes back to, it has nothing to do with the woman.
It has to do with
power.
Power. That's what I'm trying to
exactly
say.
Right.
So if you
That's
have the
my
right
point.
psychological mindset,
You have the right psychological mindset to be in that position. You got in that position because
Right.
you probably kicked the shit out of everybody on the way up. You backstabbed people, you lied, you cheated. Not in every case, but in a lot of cases. We all know them. We've all worked with people like that. A brown-nosed backstabbing motherfucker. And that's how they got that job.
Right.
They wanted that power, and they did whatever it took to get that power. And that's the same thing. They want to show their power over you. Out on the street, I wouldn't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting you in bed. But you know what? You want this job, you want to get a promotion, then you're going to have to sleep with me. So it's the power
So
trip.
women need to just be a lot stronger and be more united.
Women have
for
all the
each
power.
other. We have.
You've got the power.
Well, let's go back.
You
the other
really
way.
do. It's just like if you ever look. I am so grateful every night, especially when I was married, that I would wake up in the morning that my wife hadn't killed me in my sleep. We are. Do you know how lucky we are that women
You're
don't
setting
kill us
the
in
bar
our
really
sleep?
low, though. You know that, right?
I'm serious. We are. I'm just beyond belief that more of us don't die when we're sleeping, man.
But let me just go back for a second, though. Okay, the first time I went to college in the '80s, and I was taking a corporate fitness, exercise science, and all that. One of the things that was coming out is that women are biologically better than men because they didn't have cancer and heart disease at the same rate. And I was like, there's something wrong with this. Okay, I can't prove it yet, but there's something wrong. As the years went on, women started to smoke more, drink more, get out in the workforce, feel the stress. Lo and behold, cancer rates and heart disease rates equaled. So I'm going to say this too. And I know as a society we tend to think of, okay, more men have power, so they abuse that power. But again, in this way, I think you're right. It's not a man-woman. It's who has the power. And I could tell you a couple of weird, because I'm in an interesting situation. I started off as a male model
Dude,
when I was a kid.
in this room right now, I've got all the power.
Technically, you do.
I do.
Yeah, most of it. Yeah.
So.
But when you're a male model, right, or a trainer, these things, I got to tell you, when you have women that have power, they're just as abusive.
Of course.
And I'm not going to say as a man, because we were trained when we were younger not to have emotion, not to care, not to whatever. But listen, I had a girlfriend. I would go to work every day, and you had people like, I'll say one name. I'm not going to say them all because everybody knows, like Madonna and stuff like that. She'd be like, wow, you have great legs. Can you show me a little? Listen, I don't care. It was fun. I get to say whatever I want to say about it now and have that story.
Well,
whatever.
if Madonna asked me that, I'd be ripping my clothes off.
Right, but that's the point. But it's like, okay, but how about the
because
other way?
That would give me the power.
But it does, right.
Power of the penis.
But it
Sorry,
doesn't. But the thing is, though, what if the sexes were changed, right? I have been catcalled 1,000,000 times. And I've been on modeling shoots where the conversation goes to, did you like the money here? Well, you know, if we develop a rapport, I can get you more work.
Right.
So, you know, while we're talking about this, here's 2 tickets to I Pagliacci, a Broadway matinee. That's why I'm very specific. I remember very clearly, stuff like that. Would you like to go? Absolutely not. But I made that choice. And I told you that other story. I had a chance to go with Richard Grieco and Johnny Depp to this guy's house.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not gay. It's fine if they are. I don't care. But my answer was no. And there were women, too, along the way, that they grab you. When you're in that situation, they think you're up for grabs, so to speak. It works both ways. If you give women the power, even if you look at a band like the Go-Go's, right? Like, who cares about them, right? A know-nothing, one-hit wonder. Listen, they have an uncensored video that was put out, just like the Kardashians with their sex tapes. They were having their, what do you call this, roadies, is that what you call them?
Right.
They were having their roadies line up and masturbate for them, and the ones that they thought were the hottest would get the job for the next tour. Like, okay, like we're not allowed to talk about that because those are women. They don't think like that. Yeah,
bullshit.
Actually they do, okay?
They do.
And I can tell you firsthand that, but women are a little more discriminating, right? They want the guy with the money. They want a guy who has potential. They want a guy who looks good. So they may not go after just a nobody, right? Like, you'll see the difference. Like Monica Lewinsky, okay? You think she's totally innocent? She did the Me Too program too, this whole, and I've got a list of this Me Too garbage, okay? Monica Lewinsky, she was raped.
She was a willing participant.
She was more than willing. She was bending over, showing her G-string. She was working it. So you can't have women complain about the playing field. They know the
You know
playing
what I feel
field.
bad about her? is her best friend backstabbed her.
Did the one with the who saved the dress? You mean?
Yeah, and the
Yeah, I
one
forgot
who
her
made
name.
the call. Yeah, I forgot her name too.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is a good
True.
thing.
Yeah.
Because people like that shouldn't be remembered. But.
I know we only have a little bit of time, but there's one thing about this. I want to say the quick little thing about this Me Too, just in case people don't know what I'm talking about. The men that came out when Heidi posted that it's an amazing thing, and I feel really bad that they had gone through that. We expect a lot of compassion out of women because that's what we're told, right? We're fed that. But here's where the compassion supposedly is. This Me Too for men is a list of things to men so they can admit that they're rapists. In other words, I rape too. I abuse women too. I get women drunk so I can sleep with them too. So you see, it's a man-hating thing. And I don't think we have a lot of time, but one of the comments that I notice is this. They say, guys never have to think about what they wear, so why should I? That's, feminism kind of thing. Let me explain this, because even Heidi doesn't know this. If we are going out somewhere, and I know the crowd might be a little rough. Let's say it's a bar, or a blues band is playing, or something like that. Difference between that and going to church. I will wear sneakers, not shoes, so I have a good grip on the ground. I will wear very loose pants just in case to get into a fight. Not that I would ever cause one, but I'm going to do what I think is my manly duty, is to protect and make sure that Heidi does not get hurt in any way, shape, or form if something happens. So I will be wearing...
Seriously,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
are you just giving an example, or is that what you think when you're...
No, I do.
When you're getting dressed?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you why. Because when women say, why should I have to worry about that? Well, you don't, but let me tell you, men do. Because if you learn about self-defense, if you've been in martial arts classes, if you've been in stuff like that, it's self-defense. It's not how to kill people. It's how to defend yourself in a situation. So you learn how to eye the room. You learn how to know where the door is. You learn, like, if somebody's acting a little weird, there's things that you do to make sure that the people around you are safe, including you. And so one of the things I worry about is what I wear. If I'm going to a place where I know that there's, say, a lot of men and they'll be drinking, I don't go in there wearing a tank top, all jacked up, waiting for some drunk guy to try his stuff on me to see if he can beat me up. I don't want any part of that. I wear maybe something nice, but I certainly don't want to stand out in the crowd to cause a problem for Heidi, because a guy might challenge me, and I don't really want that to happen, but I'm there in a sense. So if you're a woman going, well, why men don't care about what they wear? Yeah, actually we do. And not only that, you have to watch out for your partner. So not only do I take care of myself, but I try to take care of you at the same time. Maybe you've not noticed that. Like if we go to a certain place, I'll wear tighter jeans.
He said to me one time, I put some outfit on, and he goes, you know what? Do you have to wear that out? He said, do you have to make my night miserable? And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And then I realized, I go, no. And I went and I put a different dress on.
Depending on where we're going.
And
I
said, okay.
If you want to go to like a nice place on the strip, I'm good.
But I didn't think
about it. You
want
to go to a dive bar with a lot of drunk guys with
$10.
beer bottles flying, like there's a little bit of a difference. So I'm just trying to maintain the amount of...
We love the sand dollar, though. Just don't get me wrong.
Yeah, we like it. We love the sand dollar.
So the point is that yes, men do have to worry about what they wear. And on this same thing, I would not wear my nicest suit if I'm going to counsel somebody in the worst area of town, and wave $100 bills. Like, it's just stupidity for a person to say men don't have to worry about that, because we absolutely worry about those types of things. So I know you have to go to work.
I have to go to work.
All right.
Actually, I have to go train.
Oh.
And if I'm late, Diana Dennis will smack me.
World famous
Diana Dennis. We're working out together.
Oh, cool.
And I have to tell you, though, I get to help her. So I feel honored that I get to help my trainer.
That'd be cool.
Get back in shape. She's had a rough time with her leg, and I feel like I can help her out now, and I feel really...
Well, then you should go do that.
So I'm going to go do that. So thank you for...
Any finishing sentences?
Yes. Everything that we talked about here today is extremely important to all of us, every single one of us. And I don't remember who made this comment, but I've always remembered it, and I thought it was brilliant. If you are going to tell people the truth, you better make them laugh or they will kill you. And I think that that's one of the reasons that I use my humor sometimes, and maybe making fun of you or whatever, because this shit's important.
Yeah.
And if we can make people laugh a little bit and smile a little bit when we're talking about some of these serious issues, maybe they'll take it a little more seriously. Whether that's right or wrong, that's how I feel. So,
sounds right to me.
Yeah, oh, well, good. Then that's two of us, so
Sounds
we must
good.
be right.
Just three of us.
I know. And let me finish real quick with mine.
Please.
To me, the worst thing on the face of this planet always is man's inhumanity to man. Humans being inhuman to other humans. And I just don't think that this is a debatable subject. Rape and doing horrible things to people is wrong, period. Don't get tribal on this and try to pick out one side's better than another. Let's just do what we can to eliminate more pain in the world.
And I just want to say, make sure the women out there realize that there are men out there that are good men, that have feelings, that really care about us. They want to protect us and take care of us, and they're not all scumbags, because I've heard that comment said. So remember, your guy does have feelings. All the men in our lives are very important to us, and we need to, take their feelings and their considerations and ask them how they're feeling, how their day's going, or how something made them feel. And I think in your case, it's harder because he's Mr. Tough Guy. So I think, he's always handling everything, but obviously everybody walks around with something.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure we take care of our guys. So that's all I got to say.
And that has been the Rise Above show. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, John.